Hail, Vault Fiends! It's me, Raven the Devil, and welcome to your first episode of Classic Vault of Metal Interviews. Now, I've chosen this one in particular because it is one of my favorite interviews I've ever had the privilege to do, and it's with none other than the man himself, the pipes from hell, King Diamond. Now, we briefly spoke before the interview had started and then went live on the air, but I have to admit, despite the great conversation we had prior, I was just nervous as hell during this interview. Having been a fan since 1983, after finding the legendary Nuns Have No Fun EP and Merciful Fate's Melissa and Don't Break the Oath following thereup, and of course his catalog in the 80s with some of my favorites like Abigail, I had a ton of questions I wanted to ask, thousands if you will, and I had a chance many times to almost meet him over the years since then, especially in the 80s and 90s, but something always came up. And with thousands of questions I wanted to ask, plus many submitted by my great Vault listeners live during the show, there just wasn't enough time, and eventually it ran out, despite us going long nonetheless. And I had created this show with this as my ultimate goal in mind. I wanted to interview King. And I was not let down in the least. I just wish we had more time ultimately in the end. Nervous or not, I still love this interview, even if today it is still somewhat painful for me to listen to. I hope you enjoy with many more to come. And as the King himself says, stay heavy, my friends. Me, Raven the Devil, and I'm excited beyond words. So I'm not going to talk too much here, but here's a Grammy-nominated song for the man that's about to join us here on the show. And we're back here on the Vault of Metal this afternoon, and I want to welcome for the first time here, my great pleasure, King Diamond himself. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you.
Well, it's a great pleasure to have you here, and you just announced yesterday that your video, the first one you've done in 17 years, just hit MTV and will be premiered on March 4th.
That's right, yeah. Isn't that amazing? It's taken that long.
Oh, man. As a fan, we've waited years for these live videos or any videos at all, and to see you guys do one since, I believe it was Egypt, or at least that era, to finally get a chance to do it again must be really gratifying.
Yeah, and I've noticed, of course, going on MySpace and our fan club site, seeing the response has been absolutely awesome. That is such an awesome feeling because so many write in what they feel and what they think of it, and it's been just very nice, very, very nice, man.
Oh, yeah, man. And I got to say, it's great to get another album out of you. I mean, the Puppetmaster was several years ago. Another fantastic album, by the way.
I think the Puppetmaster turned out really good, that was, it was among our best, and then this last one, I think, is our best, or at least among, which I also can see that a lot of our fans felt the same way, but I think we really hit something right there with that album, the sound of the album, the clarity, we took some chances that it's a little scary to do sometimes, especially when you have all these norms in the industry, you put limiters on, you compress the hell out of your music in mastering, and then you usually use a lot of the detail that you had in your original mixes, and I hate that. I've hated it for so many years now that this time me and Andy agreed that, screw what the industry normally does, with all this compression and it must sound like this and that. Let's do what's right for this music. We just did. We wrote it, we mixed it. Why should we change it now and make it inferior and lose, detail in the vocal expressions and everything else? And on this album, I think it's the first time ever on our album that you can actually hear every note Hal plays on his bass. Usually it becomes some kind of a rumble and you hear a few little passages, but you can hear every note he plays, and you certainly should, because he's just mind-blowing. He is my favorite of all time bass players. That's Al Pacino,
Oh, absolutely, man. He was one of my favorites since...
you take some chances here and there, and I think it really paid off this time to say, hey, let's do what's right for us, and not concentrate on having to sound have a certain... I don't know, it is kind of a sound that you get when you start over-compressing things, but I don't think it fit ours this time at all, It hasn't for a while, but we finally took that step and said, hey, not this time. Let's do it here. If it doesn't work, well, we'll learn from that, but I think it did work. So we're definitely going to continue that way and not over-compress our stuff, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, you guys started mixing in your home with the Puppetmaster album. I'm guessing the experience with that led to also trying new things and having the experience of already doing it once when you recorded Give Me Your Soul.
I mean, like the lineup now is just, if I was given totally, let's say, getting the opportunity to pick any musician in this world that I wanted to play with as a unit called King Diamond, they're there. I mean, that's the lineup we have now. There's never been that great of a chemistry in the band, and everyone's focusing on what's best for the songs, for the album, and no one goes out on little ego trips, and it's such a cool feeling, and the musicianship, and when we're playing live, it's never been that tight, the safety when you're on stage, knowing that everybody is playing their things exactly like they're supposed to, it gives so much freedom on stage, especially for me. I never count measures on stage, never. You'll never in my head hear, if you could, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, guitar solo, of Andy or Mike going full blast, I know when to pick up again because I listen to his solo, That's why if Andy does a solo, you'll usually see me to that side of the stage because I want to make sure I hear where he is in his solo, because I just go by what I'm hearing, not counting any measures, The only drawback in that, you can say, is if suddenly in the middle of a solo of Andy's that he broke a string and had to change guitars, then I'm lost. I have no idea where to come in again because I have nothing to go by. I suddenly just hear this rhythm part that goes under the solo, but there's no solo anymore, and I can't hear where I am at all. That's the only times when you can get in trouble for me, So, but that is so rare that happens. So.
Oh yeah, and also
with such a tight unit, you get a lot of freedom on stage because everybody's on, and it's an awesome feeling,
And the last two tours that I went and saw, you guys were doing phenomenal with the Puppetmaster, and if you're not counting as well, you've got an intricate stage show that you try to put on as well, and staying focused on that.
Yeah, I have to think of other things too, So do the other guys. It's like there are certain parts where Jodie, the actress, is doing something, and the others know when that happens, so that they don't stand right in front of her. No one can see what she does. Then it makes no sense having her there, for instance, Or for me, I have to interact with her a little bit as well as singing, and of course do what you normally do, and have all the eye contact and stuff with the fans, of course. I mean, that's such an important thing that you don't alienate anybody. There's no fun for me either standing on stage just singing, and then the thing is over. You want everybody to be part of the whole feel that it is being at a gig, where a concert, where it's like a build up to a climax, where fans and band become one. I mean, that's where I get some of the best kicks out of this industry. That is definitely being on stage with our fans. It's mind blowing.
Oh yeah, and if anyone's had a chance to see your show, you put a lot of energy into it, and as well, I know it had to have been really difficult, despite the fact that you had the choice between a wheelchair or performing further with the back injury.
Say again?
I said it must have been really difficult when you had to decide to cancel the tour due to the back injury, considering the alternative.
Well, man, there is no alternative, There's no alternative. You can't do it, I mean, I wouldn't be able to sit on a plane for 3.5 hours, That's physically impossible, So there is no choice. It's you can say it's an easy choice to make, but it sucks hardcore. I mean, the disappointment and frustration, of this situation right now is really hard to put into words for me, I know this is nothing to what soldiers and other people go through, so I'm not whining, but it's frustrating not to be able to do what you want to do and you're supposed to do, and you're suddenly put into this little limbo room where, well, just sit there and kill time until it gets good enough, for you to continue. That's frustrating, I mean, it's definitely been for me the biggest test of willpower and patience, because I mean, gets a little boring to stand up eating your dinner since last April,
Yeah.
It's normal on a couch.
And,
but it is definitely getting better. There's no doubt about it. It's going the right direction, There might be a total of 75 steps to take up for full healing. I'm probably at step 50 now compared to where I was when it happened, and I do everything in my power to get healed as quick as possible, because I can't stand this situation myself, So, and I think, I'm doing all the right things. I do at least what the doctors have said, and I have this special mattress, Tempur-Pedic mattress, that is really good for the spine, and take no painkillers whatsoever. I have not done it even when it was worst, but I think it has also helped the healing a lot, that the body has its own little warning system, tells you that, hey, you're in the wrong position now, and it hurts like hell, So I moved to another position that is not as painful, and you could lie there being all drugged up, from medicine, and not knowing that you're lying in the wrong position and you're not making any progress suddenly, I mean, that I have avoided completely, So, and right now I'm just pacing around, walking around in the house, I can certainly walk and all this. If I walk too long, I can feel it in my lower back, but there are certain things that are not so cool, driving in a car, if it's over an hour, then it seems like some little demons want to set fire to my lower left leg,
Oh, lovely.
Things, sometimes if you've been up too much or too long or whatever, you can start getting these. I got a couple of knives in my thigh yesterday, it seems like, but it's kind of like every time there's a step up, there's some negative coming with it, but then it like blends into that step you had gone up to, and then 10 days later, whoa, there's another step there, In the beginning, I couldn't sleep on my stomach, for instance. I usually fall asleep on my stomach, but that was not possible, and it's been like, well, get used to it, pal. Fall asleep and sleep on your back, for a while. Now I started to be able to sleep on my stomach again, I mean, those are the kind of things that I see as improvement, Early on, it was like, okay, brush your teeth, a simple thing like that. I had to do it on one leg, over the sink in a certain way. Otherwise, the left leg would catch on fire. It would feel like, now I do it, I'm careful, but now I'm standing all there and brushing my teeth. I mean, simple, stupid little things like that is suddenly totally different, everything.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And then you start realizing, God, man, got to take care of yourself, Everybody out there, I mean, you don't. I've never had anything in my life, The only time in my life that I was at a hospital was when I was probably a year old or so, or 2 or 3, when I had played with some building blocks and had run through the house, with that in my mouth, fell, and it got stuck up in the top of my mouth.
Ow.
Blood was pissing out of me, and my mom was pretty panicky getting me to a hospital where they had to jerk this thing out from it was stuck up in the top of my mouth, That's the only time ever, I mean, knock on wood and stuff, but so for this suddenly to happen, it's like, what,
And
I think that's the way it is for most people. If suddenly something happens, a knee blows out suddenly for some reason, and you're like, what happened, man? I didn't feel anything before. And we're not taking care of ourselves, I mean, it's as long as there's nothing wrong, you don't feel any pain, then you just go full blast, and had one taken a little bit better care of oneself, might have lasted a little longer, but now we'll just have this heal up here, and then we'll move on,
Well, definitely, man. And
shit,
Hey, I can feel your pain there, man. So I know exactly what you're going through. Now, was it a big surprise for you when you got nominated for Never Ending Hill for a Grammy?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was...
I've seen us as being that kind of a band, that would be nominated for anything, As you know, we've done our own thing, and we've been fortunate to get that artistic freedom from the record labels the whole time, so we can do everything from the heart, and that's guaranteed one of the reasons why we're still here, I mean, the fans, first of all, there's no doubt about that, I mean, we have, I would almost bet anything that we have the best fans you can ever dream of having, I mean, the support from our fans and how they've been there the whole way, all the new ones that have come, and I can't say enough good there, you know. And if we ever won, I mean, even the nomination, I would say it's yours. Take it. It's definitely yours. You deserve it, you know. Because they're the reason why we're here, you know. But it's definitely a surprise, you know, that we were nominated, and it's a great thing, of course, you know. It's a recognition, and you were picked by all the bands in the world, you know, that play that within that category. So there, it's a nice recognition, you know. But you have to look at it on the other hand too. It doesn't make us any better or any worse. It doesn't change anything, you know. And for me personally, kind of glad in that respect that my bag was not good enough to sit on a plane, because I don't think there would be a place on this earth that I would have felt more uncomfortable than walking on that red carpet with all those kind of people that I really can't associate with at all, the big stars. Not at all. Further from me, there's nothing I would feel more uncomfortable with, you know. So that's the way it is, you know. I mean, it doesn't make anyone better or worse, but I'm certainly grateful, and it's nice, you know. But I think all that stuff goes to the fans, you know. And
oh yeah.
That's the way it is, you know. I have not paid much attention to it. The only times I've seen the Grammys before, I can tell you, is when I knew Metallica was going to perform. Oh, I was definitely going to watch, you know. So, but otherwise, it's just not us, you know. But it was very nice that they nice gesture, absolutely, you know.
Oh, absolutely, man.
To me in that other respect, I can tell you what it felt like when Brian Slagel from Metal Bay called me that morning, and he said, "Hey, congratulations." With what? You know, well, you just got nominated for a Grammy. Why? That's what I said to him. Why? He, of course, said, "What do you mean, why? Why would they do that?" And that just kind of proves that, you know, I don't see ourselves as that kind of a band. You know, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make anybody better or worse or whatever just because you've gotten that, you know. But it's a nice recognition from the industry, absolutely, you know.
Oh, absolutely, man. And, you know, one of the things that has gone on with you guys for years, you know, when you did Merciful Fate, you had a signature sound or a distinctive sound, as well as with King Diamond, you keep progressing that. But what a lot of people don't realize is there's actually more than just the occult themes that you use. You actually put a political undertone in your story ideas.
There's big differences in Merciful Fate and King Diamond, you know, in almost every aspect. Of course, you have different players, you know, so they have different styles that they play in, you know. Different songwriters involved. Andy is writing very different than Hank does, and even when I write for Mercy, it's in a different way. I don't use as many different instruments, you know, because I know Mercy is more rough-edged, you can say. King Diamond will use any instrument, you know, that enhances a certain feel for the storyline or the mood that we're after, you know, and that goes on to also, of course, on stage. King Diamond is a more elaborate stage show, you know, because you have all these characters in the stories that you try to portray on stage, but the storylines, Mercy is usually, not usually, it always is individual songs, you know. We've had once on In the Shadows, there was like 3 songs, I think, that was kind of connected, you know. But that's as close as you can get to any kind of mini concept with Mercy, where King Diamond is almost exclusively concept horror stories, you know. And the stories are put in all different kinds of time periods, you know. It doesn't really matter what time period they're in. But you will always find things that you can relate to, I'm sure. And stuff that goes on around you, or situations you might have been in, or you heard of from friends or whatever, you know. There's a lot of stuff that you can relate to in the stories. And that's where these things, you know, come from, you know. A lot of stuff, a lot more than people think, is experiences that I've had. Also on the occult side, you know, so there's a lot more than what people think in the lyrics is, oh, wow, he's making up a lot of cool stuff here, but it's certainly not all made up. There is more than people think that is not made up in there. Some of the things are changed, you know, and built on and so on, you know, but and then you have those things that come from the news, you know, the way the children died in the news story here, you know, and Give Me Your Soul, Please, is what you see on the news now, and it's more than it was at the time the story was written, you know. It's just become it's a nasty phenomenon. You can turn your TV on, and there's probably a headline there in the news that says murder suicide, and so that was the way I chose to let the children die in that story, to show how they had died. And it's a problem, I mean, it's a huge problem. No one has a solution for it. You don't hear anyone come up and say, we need to do this so we can stop all these murder-suicides, whether it's schools, colleges, whether it's a family dad who kills his children and his wife and then kills himself, or it's the wife that does it, or unfortunately there's so many children involved that are totally innocent. Usually it doesn't matter. It's not just children. It's, like I said, with schools, someone is tired of their life, and they want to kill themselves, then kill yourself and go to wherever you think it might be better. But why do you have to take all these other innocent people with you? What's the point? What is it? Why did you snap in the first place, And usually there are no explanations. None.
Absolutely.
Family, it could be friends, neighbors, they seem like such a happy family. I don't understand what happened here, and no one understands. In 90% of the cases, there is no reason, for why a person snapped. Then you hear some people that they run back in and kill their boss after they got fired, Then okay, there is the reason he snapped, but it's wrong. It's dead wrong. No one does that. I mean, no one deserves to die just because they got fired from a job. Come on, But there you can pinpoint, okay, it's probably why the guy snapped, then build up with all the other problems the guy had maybe, But that's the few cases where you actually can point something out and say, well, there might be something here that could have triggered the whole thing, But it's a big problem, I mean, you can say it's not the biggest problem in the world. Well, it is for those people who it hit, For them, it is definitely the biggest problem, you can say wars and people dying there, it's all horrible. It's all horrible. But, someone getting killed in a war, it's the same kind of loss that they have as the people who innocently got killed in a murder-suicide or whatever, I mean, these senseless killings that it is with the murder-suicides, where you can't even find a reason for why is this happening, You don't expect it to happen. It's a problem, and you find those things in diamond stories, you find it in the graveyard with child molestation, I mean, there's nothing worse than these perverts, who are destroying little innocent kids' lives, There's nothing worse, I mean, and some of them get probation, and come on. Some of them are put in jail for a year or two, and then they're out in the streets again, and then they do it right away again, and they sometimes end up doing it even worse, where it ends up with a killing, It's sick. It's crazy to see. I can't. If it was me that judged those people, I can guarantee you the guy that would sit slowly for 1 month in a garage and just be choked to death. And bye, man. Hope you enjoyed what you did.
Hey, man, I can't say I disagree.
You can't do that. For some reason, you can't be like that. It's like, someone gives you fire, pay them back with fire. And I mean, but it's not like that. It's the same as the wars that are being fought sometimes. When I look at it, I have such high respect for our military. And to see sometimes how they're being portrayed, and it's like some of the politicians and stuff. I get so angry inside, thinking, why don't you go there and see what it's like? You're telling your soldiers to fight with white gloves on. Treating the enemy with gloves. You can't. Wake up. You can't. I mean, fight fire with fire, and then maybe the others will realize, hey, this is not as fun as we thought it would be. This is like, we shouldn't talk about these things now. I just get so pissed off, man, when some of these things that goes on in this world, I mean, it's the same with religion, which you also find a little bit of in I can talk about that, with Give Me Your Soul, where you have this in the story anyway, where the kids die and then you're being judged, which is a thing that a lot of different religions have in within their belief, that you get judged for how you live your life, and there's a scenario in this album too where 13 judges are judging them, and what I just wanted to say in the story was when a little boy comes up, he didn't commit suicide. He was killed by his dad, but his dad committed suicide afterwards. And those who judge make a mistake. They mistake the boy for the dad, and they're dead wrong. And who's to say that can't happen if you believe in that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
And to you too.
It could happen to anyone.
Judging you when it's that time, if that's what you believe, and who's to say they can't make a mistake? And it's your final judgment, and there's no more, goodbye. Just a little, I think interesting theory, but overall, with religion and all this stuff, I'm not a religious person. I don't have any religion that I support. I never had, but I do respect other religions, absolutely. I mean, no one knows though. That's my biggest problem: the lack of respect between people believing to or belonging to different religious or different religions. The lack of respect there, and lack of accepting that no one has the proof. That's what bothers me big time.
Absolutely.
I mean, who's to say that you believe in the right God or wrong God? Who can say how many gods there are in this world, if there are any? Nobody has proof of that. Nobody. If there was one person on this earth that could come and lay down the proof, here, you see, this one God here is the right one, we would all believe in that, of course, if it was proved. But there is no proof. And without proof, to run around and kill each other because of religious differences, it makes no sense to me. The logic is gone, I mean, no one has the proof, and I'll be the last to come and say if there is one or many or none. I can't come and say that there are no gods. Hello, Mr. Diamond, prove that. No, there is no proof, of anything. And that's one of the biggest problems, I think, in this world, because every time you look at a war somewhere, you usually hear there's some religious differences somewhere in there as part of the reason why people are killing each other, And it just doesn't make sense to me, I mean, like, if you have a strong belief of some kind and you feel it's the right thing, that's great. That's great for you. Keep it to yourself. And don't judge others just because they might not believe in the same thing, I mean, who are you to judge? You don't know anything. You don't have the proof of anything, So, but those things, man, I mean, that's where House of God was painting that kind of a picture. That's where the makeup changed, and you got crosses both ways, because it kind of shows my view that I don't know, and I don't pretend to know because I don't have any proof. I'll find out when it's my time.
Yeah, and I don't think you're in any more hurry than any of the rest of us that want to get there and be proven right or wrong.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you get out of here, man, there were just a couple of things I wanted to touch on. I had a few fan questions as well as a couple other things. First off, one of the a longtime fan of yours I've met through the Coven forums was wondering, how did King Diamond, the name, come to be?
How does what? King Diamond do what?
The name. How did you come up with the name of King Diamond?
Oh, should I tell you a lie or should I be honest?
Well, didn't it have something to do with the Brats?
It was before that band called Brats. I mean, Brats was where Hank was playing, so that was kind of the beginning that led up to Merciful Fate. Brats had a deal with Danish CBS, but when I joined the band, it was on the conditions that we were going to play heavy and not the style that Brats was playing at that time, which was a mix of punk and heavy. And when CBS heard that, they said, no, that's not Brats, and Hank and I wanted to play heavy. The others wanted to have a record deal, so Hank and I left, and started Merciful Fate at that time. And then we worked for a while to get the right guys together, and then eventually, it ended up with that we did get a deal. The others didn't go anywhere. They never renewed that deal anyway. But that was way back at that point. What the hell was your question? What did you ask me?
Actually, it was how the name King Diamond came to be.
Yeah. So it was before that. The name was already. That was the band Black Rose before that I started singing with. And before that, I was just playing guitar, only playing guitar, but not singing, in a band called Brainstorm. And it was there that the name came up. We thought that we were so great we would be known worldwide in no time. and we felt like we needed to have some international sounding names because people would probably not be able to pronounce our names properly. And then we'd heard things like Alice Cooper. He was not really called Alice Cooper. That was just a thing he had taken, and other people's names were not really what they were called, or not their natural born names. So we had that too, and I remember one of the guitarists was Mike West, and we had Jesse James on drums, At that point, I didn't even know it was like an old cowboy legend, but maybe he did. And I have no clue, honestly, how King Diamond came up, but that's the time when it came up. Now I'll lie to you and say, well, diamonds are forever, But it's otherwise. I have absolutely no clue, but I can tell you it got stuck. Already with Black Rose, people barely called me by my real name. It was just always King, and I don't think I've heard Hank, even though I've been working with him for so many years, or Ole Bang. He was there at the time when we started Merciful Fate as well, helping out the band with different things. I don't think I've ever heard them call me by my real name. They know it very well. It's not like that. But it's such a weird thing, because on tour as well, if someone calls me by my real name, I probably wouldn't even turn around. Because you are in that environment, where you're used to everyone calling you by that other name, or by King, so you wouldn't respond, It's a little bit weird, yeah.
Oh, definitely, man. And actually, before we get out of here, the last question I actually wanted to ask is the Death Clock involvement. You one of my favorite ones you played the devil in. How did you get involved with that?
The line is a little faint, it's a little hard hearing, but
I apologize. I said how did you get involved with Death Clock? The first time I caught you in it was the Blues Clock episode, one of the later ones.
Right, yeah. That was it was actually some of the guys from Metallica. I can't remember exactly who it was. If it was James and Lars, maybe, who I know that the people that do the Apocalypse, that they no, not Apocalypse, Metallicalypse, that they had contacted Metallica's management to see if they had some people in mind that they could use to do voiceovers, and they had already agreed to do James and Lars, I think, or was it James and Kirk?
I think it was James and Kirk.
Was James? Was it Kirk?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, yeah. But then when they asked the management, they asked, of course, James and Kirk, and said, hey, can you think of anyone? And they said, hey, ask King Diamond, man. He can probably do different voices. So that's what they did. So that was thanks to them, that I was asked. And it was fun doing it, absolutely. I just wish they had chosen another voice for that Black Devil there. I had a couple of... I did 3 different voices for each character, of each episode, so they could pick the one they felt fit the best, and for that Black Devil, they picked the most normal voice I did. I had one that I thought myself, oh, they're gonna pick that one. It sounds so cool. I with a really drunken whiskey kind of voice, but they picked another one, and I said, oh well, it's my own fault. I could have just not sent them that voice, the most normal one, But it was cool. It was fun to do it, and it's a great series, I think.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I have to say, they kind of made the devil look like you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And I know you got a full day of interviews ahead of you. And I normally don't ask this, but could I possibly get a shout out from you for the show?
Get a what?
A shout out.
Shout out? What do you want me to scream?
No, just say, this is King Diamond and you're listening to Raven on the Vault of Metal.
Oh, that's, what do you call it, a shout out now?
Yeah.
A station ID?
Yeah, same thing, except I'm just a show.
Of course, but you're not going to do that live on the air, though, right?
Well, I have to let you get going, man, so we have to do it here, but that's all right. It'll get edited out in the podcast.
Sure.
Whenever you're ready, brother.
So well, what is it? Is the Vault of Metal?
Yeah, you're listening to the Vault of Metal.
Hello, this is King Diamond, and you're listening to the Vault of Metal. You better stay tuned, or I will send that old bitch grandma after you. Your grandma?
Yes, I'm here, King.
Well, man,
She just popped up here. I couldn't control her.
well, hopefully soon we'll be seeing more of Grandma here on stage.
Oh, I love her so much, man.
Just one last question. I know there's a lot of fans that have asked you this. I've seen it on the forums as well. Any plans in the near future of maybe finally talking to you something about turning Grandma into something bigger?
It would be great. Yeah, great. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's a long process, and some of those parts of those processes take longer than one would like. That's always the case. I wouldn't even say that's sometimes the case, or most of the time. It's always the case. Things take longer, and we're working on several different things now, trying to get something out of the time where I can't really be on stage and stuff like that, but still, we have other things we can work on, and there's these retro DVDs as well, that we have a lot of interest for, but they still need to get that deal done the right way and all this, and I've been talking about this for so long. It's almost like I should shut up and not talk about those things until they are close to being okay. It's finalized now. It's happening. Same thing with the video, right? I mean, seriously, it was supposed to be out by Halloween. Welcome to the music business, Now it's finally there, and hopefully it was worth the wait, but the things that can happen and go wrong and this and that, things you don't expect, with the video, for instance, we were really caught off guard with certain things, the synchronization, of sound and picture, but that was one thing. But one thing that really caught us off guard was the aspect ratio of things. Because when you watch on a computer something, it'll usually adjust it to the right nice aspect ratio, whether you have a widescreen computer or a normal 4:3, not so with TVs, And I was judging our video on both computer and TV, and in the beginning got only what looked like it was meant to be widescreen. And then suddenly I got another version that where everybody looked tall. And I'm like, well, what is this? This is wrong. What happened here? Oh, maybe it's this. We should do it in 4:3, then it'll show up with bars on the sides on your TV, And then I pop that next version in, and I see, and we all look like we've been eating donuts for 8 years, Everything was stretched wide, looked like little fat people, And I just, what's going on here, I play it on this thing here, and it looks like that, and that thing here, it has to look good everywhere. I don't care if there's bars top or bottom or side or whatever, but the people have to look realistic. And it was a science in itself. People who have a widescreen TV know what I'm talking about. You have a program that is suddenly broadcast. It's not a high-def widescreen program, and it comes up on your widescreen or on your high-def channel, and then suddenly you're sitting there fiddling around trying to find does the zoom work, what works to make people look normal. So suddenly we had those problems, and that took another, a couple of weeks, just to get that problem out of the way and figure out what was going on, and so it's not easy, you think something is within a certain time frame. Yeah, we should be done by this time, or we should have this out at that time, and you get those infos. I relate info that I get from people that, well, you expect that they will know too, but everybody gets caught off guard, It's nobody's fault, it's just the way it is. And there's always more than you think that goes into it, and then it takes time. Like yesterday, I think it was so cool of MTV to waive their exclusivity right. They only said, okay, we'll keep it for 12 hours, and then we'll release the video so people outside of the U.S. can also see it. I had no idea about this stuff, I suddenly find out, no, it's the only U.S. that can see it. The exclusivity rights are for the U.S. only, and that has to wait until it's been on Headbangers Ball next Tuesday. Then everyone will be able to see it. Like, you're kidding. People are bombarding us with messages saying, can't see it. It's like, what's going on, Okay, I called Metal Blade immediately and find out that while I was hanging on the phone, they called MTV, and said, hey, there are all these people I can't see. What is it? No, it's because it's exclusive, this and that. And that. Oh, man, you're kidding. Now I have to go up and tell our fans that some of you are going to have to wait till next Tuesday. And then MTV was so cool. I mean, I think it was so cool that what they did there, and said, you know what, we'll waive that right. We'll just keep it for 12 hours. Tomorrow everyone can see it. Like, oh, thank you so much, man. I mean, they will all appreciate that, I'm sure.
Absolutely, man.
Those are the things, man. I mean, there's so much going on here that you don't have control over. And then when you hear the problems are there, you try and grab them by the throat, you know, with the problems and solve them as quick as you can. But it's not always that easy.
Well, that's the case with this business, man. Hurry up and wait, right?
There you go.
But I want to wish you the best of luck with the video, man. Congratulations. First one in 17 years. It's a great video. And good luck with the recuperation, and we hope to see you on tour very soon.
Same here, I can tell you. Big time. And it's so awesome to see the responses from the fans, you know, that I watched on our MySpace site and on the fan club site. You know, the responses that come in there really make me feel like it was worth all this stuff we went through with it. You know, I mean, it's so cool to see, I can tell you.
Absolutely, man. And good luck with the rest of the year, and I'll let you get back to your day. And thank you so much for coming on the show. You are welcome anytime.
And thank you, Raymond. You take care.
You too, brother.
All right.
And we're heading out of here with a little bit more King Diamond off of the new album. If you got a request, send them to requests at thevaultofmetal.com or come on into the vaultofmetal.com chat room. We're hanging out with a bunch of new people. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and for the great questions. Man, it doesn't get much better than this. King Diamond again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And here we go with a little Floating Head.